Salam and welcome to day 2 of Ramadan. The first day is over and it went by so quickly. I'm super excited to get you the second episode to my Iftar series, and I really do hope that you enjoy it. To continue our series on the 99 names of Allah, here are the 3 names for today. Number 1, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. It means the most gracious, most merciful. You can find this in Surah Rahman. For our second name, Al-Hayy, it means ever living. He is the one who will remain and will never die. You can find this in Surah Baqarah. And for the third name, Al-Qayyum, it means all sustainer. He is self-sufficient and needs no one. You can also find this in Surah Baqarah. I hope that this has been helpful and that you're able to follow along with me in learning the 99 names of Allah. On my Iftar dinner menu tonight, we're going to have a roasted chicken. I'm going to be baking wild Atlantic salmon. I'll be preparing a salad as well as some grilled vegetables. And to break our fast, I'll be preparing some tiny little meatballs with a nice spicy Korean barbecue dipping sauce. So let's get cooking. We're going to get started with preparing our chicken to roast. What I did was I have some room temperatured unsalted butter, about a ½ stick in here, and to it I'm going to add a teaspoon of paprika, teaspoon of chili powder, a little bit more than a teaspoon and a half of garlic powder. I will add a little bit of salt. That is about ½ of a teaspoon. ½ of a teaspoon of turmeric because I just love the color that it gives. I have some black pepper in here, so I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of black pepper. And this is some fine leaf Guyanese dry thyme. I just love the flavor of it. So it's whole little pieces like that. And I just like to grind it together between my hands to release the flavors into it and mix that in. I'm gonna add a little bit more to that. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and take this butter mixture and mix it in together. And that's going to be what I spread all over this chicken so that it can have a beautiful color and really great flavor. All right, so I went ahead and I washed this chicken with some lime juice and some water, and I'm just drying the chicken, drying all of the water off of it, whatever excess moisture there is, because you don't want to have a soggy chicken. You want to have a nice crispy chicken. So once the chicken is dried, what I'm going to do is take the butter mixture. It looks like a paste, and I'm just going to go ahead and rub it on with my hands onto the chicken and just kind of coat it really well all around and inside with this butter mixture. And we'll pop it in the oven for about 400 degrees for just under an hour. What I'll do is I'll leave it breast side up first, so this way that can, cook. The breast usually doesn't take that long to cook. But what I like to do is once all the moisture and the juice is released, I like to turn it over about halfway through so that the breast part can kind of sit in the juices while the rest of it bakes. Remember, I mentioned in my previous videos that I don't eat any meat. I also do not eat poultry. I used to about 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago, I stopped, and I am now a pescatarian. So for me to be able to enjoy my Iftar dinner, I'm gonna be making some salmon for myself with some grilled vegetables. But this is shaping up really nicely. Once it's all set and coated, I'm gonna pop it into the oven. For our appetizers for Iftar, I have some ground beef that I had already pre-seasoned and cleaned, put into the freezer. I package my chicken or ground beef or anything that I'm gonna cook flat like this. I think it's kind of cool because then when I take it out to defrost it, it defrosts pretty evenly and quicker because it's in a flatter package. Here, I'll show you how I package it in my freezer just so you can have an idea. In my freezer, I have these freezer drawers. So what I'll do when it comes to meat, I'll basically package it like this. So this is the ground beef. This is another package, so it looks like this when it's frozen. This is chicken cutlets cut up, also, you know, regular beef or chicken or whatever else that I'm gonna use. So I like to package everything like this, and it just makes it easier for me to find whatever I need. And also if my kids need to cook something, it's, you know, better for them as well to figure out what they want. So I poured the ground beef out of a plastic bag and I put it into this glass bowl. What I do normally is I'll take a mini muffin pan and I'll spray it with some nonstick spray, and each one of the slots is going to get one meatball in it. So this way, if it lets out any water, it's just going to kind of sit in there and not, you know, make a mess in a flat pan, and also it doesn't roll around too much when I go check on it. I have a melon baller that I'm going to use to average the actual size of these meatballs so that they're all uniform, and I'm just going to round it off like this and drop it into each slot. It's 24 slots, so I'm looking to get 24 mini meatballs, and I will bake that for about half an hour at 400 degrees as well. All right, so I just dropped in the last meatball. I got 24 meatballs in here. That was about 1 pound of ground beef. Next, I'm just gonna drizzle the top of these with a little bit of olive oil just to brush it on, because when it starts to bake, I don't want it to get hardened on top. This is just gonna give it like a nice texture, nice base, so that it doesn't dry out also. Like that. So we have about a half an hour left on the chicken baking in there. I'm going to check on it, and I'm going to pop this into the oven so that this can cook for the next half an hour while that chicken finishes up. All right, I went ahead and took the chicken out. I flipped it over on the other side. So now it's going to cook for about another half an hour and get a nice, beautiful color on top. Tonight's salad is a simple one. I had store-bought. The only thing I'm gonna do different is I'm gonna add a little bit more arugula to it to kind of zhuzh it up a little. So it's a regular Southwest chopped salad. I'm gonna throw in some tacos, a little bit of the dressing, and I'm gonna add a handful of arugula, maybe 2 handfuls. I do love a good salad. So we're gonna go ahead and mix that up and keep this in the refrigerator until it's time to break our fast. For our vegetables, I have butternut squash, the small mini bell peppers. I have the orange ones and the red ones. It adds nice color to the roasted vegetables. I'll also add in some Brussels sprouts. So I have a glass pan here that I added in some non-stick spray to, and when I'm done peeling this, I'm gonna cut it up into same size squares, small enough where it can roast pretty quickly all together. And I'm gonna add some salt and pepper and season this up and put it into the oven for half an hour on 400 degrees. All right, all my butternut squash is cut into small bite-sized squares. I'm gonna throw in the peppers whole. My Brussels sprouts, I'm gonna have it added in about halfway through. I like to chop my Brussels sprouts into little rounds and kind of throw it in. It's, I don't know, I just enjoy it better that way. So let's go ahead and season this up. I'm gonna throw in some black pepper, of course, throw in a little bit of paprika, give it some nice color. And this is coarse kosher salt that I use, so not too much of that. Drizzle in some olive oil. And then go ahead and just give it a nice toss with all the oil and the seasonings together. And this is gonna go into the oven for a half an hour. 15 minutes in, I'm gonna throw in the Brussels sprouts on top and let those also roast. And then we'll check on it. So it turned out to be a day of pure baking. I was gonna sear the salmon, but look at this color on this salmon. It's wild Atlantic salmon steaks, and they're about 1 inch or so thick. I only buy wild salmon. I think it's so healthy for you and tastes way better, I think. So what I'm gonna do is I decided not to sear the salmon. I'm gonna pop it into the oven since everything else is in the oven. I'm just gonna take some garlic cloves and kind of stick them through the salmon, couple pieces into there, to kind of, you know, fuse the flavor of the garlic while it's baked. Because I wanted some spicy salmon tonight, I'm gonna use jerk seasoning, and I'm going to just, you know, baste it on with the brush, flip it over on the other side, and pop it into the oven. Look at that. So I'm gonna pop this into the oven and let this cook for about 15 minutes. All right, the chicken is all done. I took it out and I'm gonna let it rest for about 15 minutes or so before I cut into it, so that it can just retain all the juices that's in there. And I just basted it with a little bit of the juice that came out from there. But look at the color on that chicken, how beautiful. I wanted to show you our prayer section where my husband and my kids and I pray. I love these mats. They're so beautiful and they're really, really comfortable. They're like extra cushioned and super comfortable on your knees when you have to go down or sit for an extended period of time. And yeah, so this is where it all goes down, where our salah happens. And so dinner is complete and finally served. We're simply waiting to break our fast in a couple of minutes. That's the chicken, the salmon, jerk salmon with grilled vegetables. Here are the meatballs. I made a nice Korean barbecue sauce dip to go with it. And that is our salad. And that will conclude our iftar dinner. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and share, and enjoy your evening. Take care.